Space. It seems to go on and on forever. But then you get to the end and the gorilla starts throwing barrels at you.
The exploration of space will go ahead, whether we join in it or not. And it is one of the great adventures of all time.
Traveling through hyperspace ain't like dusting crops, boy. Without precise calculations, we'd fly right through a star or bounce too close to a supernova and then it'd end your trip real quick, wouldn't it?
How many assholes we got on this ship anyhow?
Yo!
I knew it, I'm surrounded by assholes.
Course heading, Captain.
Second star to the right. And straight on till morning.
I'm back from space, everybody.
You got lucky, Peter.
How was it, Dad?
Oh, mind-boggling, Chris. Barreling around the Earth at 5 miles per second, watching the sunrise over the Sea of Japan, it's indescribable. Plus, I had lots of time to masturbate, which in space is great, except after a while, it's like living in a snow globe.
Greetings, programs and users. It is time once again for another episode of Old Nerds Drinking. I am John Patrick, the Master Control Program. Here with me again is my faithful co-host, Rojan.
Greetings, fellow people. That wasn't exactly what I wanted to say, but it just kind of came out that way. Fellow people. Greetings, humans.
Rojan is officially sus. But we are old nerds, and we are drinking. Today, I am drinking a summer favorite. My go-to summer beer is the Leinenkugel Summer Shandy.
Leinenkugel? You have given me a Lake Time hard iced tea. I have never tasted this before. I have no idea what it's going to taste like, but I am a fan of the hard iced teas, so it should be decent.
Clink?
Clink. Well, we can't really clink because I've got a can and you got a bottle, so... There we go.
There we go. Perfect.
Maybe it's the fact that I just got done eating like 2 Del Taco tostadas again.
No. They're actually awful.
Oh, thanks. Thanks, Dick. Wow. You give me, again, this is what I said before, you give me the shit stuff. It's like, I'll save this for Ro, and I'll laugh at him as he's drinking it, looking like an ass.
Well, if anything, you can laugh at me, because I'm the one who bought it, never having tasted it, thinking, oh, this looks like it would be something I like, because I like some of the hard iced teas. So I bought, sight unseen, a 12-pack.
12-pack. You never buy a 12-pack of an untasted beer.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, it only came in 12-packs, so I had half of one, determined it was vile.
Half of a 12-pack or half of a can?
Half of a can.
So you still have 10 cans of this stuff left.
9. I got somebody to drink one at 4th of July.
Oh, that poor person.
I think it was Lisa. Sorry, Lisa.
You know what it is?
But she was a trooper, and she finished it.
There's no sweetness to it. It tastes just like tea. It doesn't taste like... There's no sweetness or anything else to it.
See, and I like unsweetened iced tea, but it tastes like this weird salty taste to it.
Yeah.
And I couldn't get over it. So now I'm trying to get any poor soul who comes to my house is like, here, have one of these.
Wow, you're a dick.
I really am.
You're a dick. Wow. I'm going to get to a point where I'm just afraid. You're going to hand me something. I'm going to be like, no, I'm not drinking this.
See, the problem is half the time it's delicious, half the time it's awful.
Yeah, but it's like that can of Perignon or Peri, whatever the hell.
San Pellegrino.
Yeah, that shit, which sounds nothing like Perignon, but San Pellegrino was horrible. This isn't as bad as that, but it's right. I mean, I'll drink it because it's open, but...
I actually had to stop buying that because I looked at how much sugar was in it and was like, holy fuck, yeah, this is why I like this so much. It's got 28 grams of sugar per can.
There's a honey taste to this, but it's not a sweet honey taste.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know how to describe it. Again, this is one of the most vile things that I've ever drank before.
You're welcome.
I'll go on record as saying that I will never buy this, so I will thank you for that. I will thank you for saying, here, drink this, now don't drink it again.
The burned hand teaches best. That's what I tell my children.
Yes, but the slow knife penetrates the shield.
Ooh, good setup. Good segue. Because as many of you may or may not have noticed, a new Dune trailer dropped this week, and holy fuck is it amazing. But before we get talking into that, I forgot there's one thing I got to do. This is a shout out to Archer. I know you're listening because your mom told me. So to somebody who I have known since he was a wee baby child, and his parents ran into me at Street Fair, and they're like, "Our son loves your show. He thinks it's the shit." And I'm like, yeah.
Excuse me, ma'am, sir. Have you actually listened to our show to make sure what your son's listening to?
Yeah, they're good people.
Yeah. Okay, whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, so shout out to Archer.
I gotta interrupt you. I have to do this. You've got packages of Twizzlers sitting over there, and I've got to ask for one. I would like one on the. Yes, that's the kind I would like.
Well, of course that's the one you'd like.
I mean, I'm sorry. It's like walking in on a supermodel nude saying "Have sex with me." It's kind of like, I know I'm crinkling it right into the microphone.
You are.
Yeah. Anyways, but don't edit this out. Go ahead.
And Twizzlers do make mouths happy.
Oh my God, this is so much better than this shitty hard iced tea that I'm drinking right now. This offsets the horridity.
Hold on. Try the Twizzler straw. See if that improves it.
Oh, no. No, I'm not going to ruin a Twizzler by drinking this shitty iced tea through a Twizzler.
It'll be a strawberry iced tea then.
Yeah, a shitty strawberry iced tea Twizzler.
Red Vines work better. I mean, Twizzlers, they've got that tiny hole through the lid, so it's like you're trying to suck through a coffee straw. But like Red Vines have like the full-on straw effect. So, but the Dune trailer dropped, and we've been dick hard for this ever since we saw the first trailer. Like
so dick hard.
My penis can only get so erect.
2 years ago.
Yep.
I think it was out pre-COVID, because I think it was the movie was originally supposed to release like the fall of 2019, and then, or no, it was like the fall of 2020, but then COVID happened, so they pushed it back a year.
And then they were supposed to release it on the on pay. You can watch it at home if you wanted to.
They're still going back and forth in that. That may or may not happen.
I think they're waiting to see what's going to happen with Black Widow, because Black Widow was the first movie to really do that, blockbuster-wise. Well, and from what I understand, both of them are doing fairly well.
Yeah, I was going to say Black Widow had a really good opening weekend.
Yeah.
Which that was kind of the thing Marvel was, and as much as it sucks that Marvel was gauging on was, are people going to start coming back to theaters if we start bringing movies back to theaters? So,
well, when we went and saw it, you know what? Finish the Dune conversation.
Yeah. So, officially, oh, God, a cough and burp all at the same time.
That's got to go into an outtake show.
Oh, fuck.
Serves you right for serving me shitty late time hard iced tea.
So Dune was supposed to come out like early this year, then they pushed it back to October of this year, then they pushed it back from the first week of October to the last week of October, but now officially hard set in stone, the release date is October 22nd.
They did I saw the trailer a couple of days ago. They did Stephen Colbert is a huge Dune nerd, and he did an interview with the cast before they debuted the trailer. And it was pretty cool to to see the actors and etc. And the guy playing Paul Atreides, who I had no idea who the kid was or anything like that. I don't recall what movies I've ever been in before. He looks like he's going to have the part pretty well. But it was neat to see that interview of all the people before they showed the trailer and have them describe their characters and stuff. And the trailer does look amazing. Here's the problem that I have with it. And this is just a stupid gripe of mine. I'm still going to go see it. I have read all of the books. I've been reading Dune since I was young. I went and read all of the books. Some of them are the original 3 are the best ones, and all the other ones are just kind of like little things that add to the story or whatever. They're not great. They're not bad. Some of them are better than others.
And they're like the Star Wars Extended Universe books.
Yeah, pretty much. And they're all leftover notes from before he died. Frank Herbert died, and his son and Kevin J. Anderson are the ones that took that stuff and actually made books out of them. And, you don't need to read them, but it's nice. It's nice you get the backstory of why there's no machines in Dune and why they don't have artificial intelligence and stuff. It's neat to fill that in. Thou shalt not suffer a machine, which is the Gom Jabbar the whole box test came from and stuff. So it's neat for that stuff. But I have seen every incarnation of Dune. I saw the Sci-Fi Channel version of it, which I didn't think was bad. It was cool to see Children of Dune get a movie. That wasn't that bad. But the problem is I'm looking at this and I'm like, It looks great. It's everything that I would like it to be, but I know this story so well, and I've already seen this movie twice in different forms. Do I really want to go and see another Dune movie again? And of course I will, and I think the reason why this is going to be better is because they're not taking these books and trying to truncate them into one movie.
Yeah.
They're taking the first book and making it into 2 movies. I believe it's 2.
I believe it's 2 as well.
Which is good because that story needs room to breathe and expand and really get the full feel of it. Like the original one that was released, like there's so much crammed into that movie.
Right.
At least with Sci-Fi Channel, they came along and they cut the budget back and changed some stuff out in it because filming in the desert isn't that hard. It's it's not. They didn't have to have a huge amount of special effects, but that was a miniseries, so that gave it a little bit more room to breathe than the original movie did. So I don't know. I'm still going to go see it. I'm definitely. It's like Star Wars. It's like Star Wars or Marvel. They could release a movie, and how shitty it is, I'm going to go see it. Same with Star Trek.
Case in point, Eternals.
Oh, yeah. No, I've talked to people since we've had that show. Everybody has the same attitude we do. They're all like, I don't want to go see it, but I want to go see the train wreck. I have met one person yet that's like, yeah, man, the Eternals. And the first thing everybody says is, well, Guardians of the Galaxy, which is exactly what we said. So I don't think it's funny. But anyways, Dune trailer, it looks really, really good. It looks cool. The still suits look good. The special effects look good. The sandworms look really cool. Which is another thing, like how many different versions of a sandworm can you do? It's a worm with teeth bumming out of the sand. How different can you do it? So that's cool. So yeah, of course we're gonna go see it.
See, and my thing is, I'm actually late to the Dune game. I mean, I remember watching the David Lynch Dune probably in my 20s when like everybody was like,
oh my god.
For those listening,
that was terrible. That was a horrible idea.
Rojan took my advice and tried it with the Twizzler straw.
Oh my god, no. My mouth just beat my ass for me. My tongue was like, "What are you doing?" And my tongue just like beat my ass. Oh man, I kind of wonder if I ruined this Twizzler now. I don't care about the hard iced tea. I care about the damn Twizzler. I'm so sorry to interrupt your story.
It's okay. There's more.
This was bad. Why the fuck did I listen to you?
Yeah. Because the robot devil can tempt you with things that you want.
I didn't want this. I just did it.
Well, you wanted to make it taste better.
It didn't.
And
it not only did not help the flavor of the iced tea, it worsened the flavor of the Twizzler, which was the superior of both. Why did I do that? That's like putting whipped cream on shit and going, wow, this should probably taste good.
Wow.
Please continue your story. This was horrible.
Yeah, because I am a creature of chaos and deception.
This was really bad. Yeah. This was a really fucking dumb idea.
It was at that moment Rojan realized he fucked up.
Continue with your story.
So, when actually, it would be earlier than my 20s. So it was when I was in my late teens and I really started to get into gaming and everything. We watched the David Lynch Dune, and I tried reading the books, but I fucking hate the trope of the all-knowing child messiah. Well, basically of the all-knowing messiah figure. The person who everything is a part of their plan. Everything they do is never a mistake. It's always part of the plan. And Paul Atreides is that on top of just being a colossal douchebag.
That's the whole thing of the book, though, is he becomes this. He's not trying to be a messiah. He's just trying to do what he's got. He's just trying to do what he does, and everybody else makes him the messiah. And by the time the second book comes along, and even into the third, it turns out that he's a really shitty, bad leader. He's really done a bad job doing what he's supposed to do, and he's one of those people he doesn't want to be the messiah, but it's like that scene from Monty Python. Well, why don't you all just fuck off? To where, sir? To that bush. The messiah has found us a bush. That's kind of what it is.
That is why I posited the idea of doing Monty Python's Life of Brian, but doing it as Dune.
Yeah,
it's like he is the Kwisatz Haderach. No, I'm not. Only the Kwisatz would deny his own divinity.
And you can see Jessica, Mother Jessica, opening up the doors, like, no, he's not here. He's gone away. He's not the Messiah. He's not the Kwisatz-Haderach.
He's not the Kwisatz-Haderach. He's a naughty boy.
Only the Kwisatz-Haderach would say he's not the Kwisatz-Haderach. Okay, I'm the Kwisatz-Haderach. The Kwisatz-Haderach.
Yeah, I totally want to see.
Yeah, I could totally see a Monty Python spoof of. Yeah, it would be great. But that's going back to that's the whole thing of the books though. Is he turns like his son turns out to be the better leader.
Well, and that's another one of my things. Like he gets with Cheney. They have a son. It happens in the background. They flash forward like a year or two. They kill his son, and he's just like, eh.
See, that's where the movies got it wrong, because in the books...
Well, I was talking about this is in the audiobook, because I listened to the audiobook of it, and it's just like, not only did he just do that I know in later books, he has another son, gives him the same name as the son who died, and it's like, we'll just try. It's just like...
It's like at first you don't succeed.
No. It's like that scene in Beer Fest, where... the one character dies, and his twin brother comes. It's like, could you just call me like Land? Could you just call me my dead brother's name? So it's like he never even left.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
It's like, oh yeah, that's what it is.
That's part of the reason why he hates the Harkonnens so much, because they killed his father and they killed one of his kids.
Yeah. And
the movies really don't quite, because the movie kind of skips over that whole fact that they killed one of his kids. And that the original version of it, that just kind of glosses over it. So you're watching that. And the other thing is, I remember going and seeing at the movie theater the David Lynch one, and they gave you a booklet explaining all of the terms and everything when you walk in there. And you're like, what the fuck is this? And I was a little kid at the time. I was like, yeah, sci-fi movie, Dune. So I didn't really care. And then I got older, and I was like, that is the only movie I've ever went to where they give you like a little Bible to go in and watch the movie with.
That's
so you know
cool.
what's going on.
I wish I would do that with more things, but...
Yeah, but you're not going to sit in the dark and squint at the dark, because this was way back. This is back in the 80s, and you're like, what the fuck is, what is a Gom
Jabbar?
Gom Jabbar, what is a Sardaukar, So I don't know, but I mean, by now, the people that are going to go see this movie, I'm sure everybody knows what all this shit is. They should at this point. That movie took forever to get made, the original Dune, how many variations and stuff it went through. Because Pink Floyd was supposed to do the original soundtrack for it, and Dolly had something to do with it, I believe.
So there was the first there was the David Lynch, I thought, and then...
No, he came later.
Okay. Yeah, because there was the, I forget who...
Dolly was actually involved in the original one. The art from it was really strange and everything.
Oh, yeah. I mean, I think he was paid like $1 million a day.
But I had to laugh because when they had the first trailer that they did had a really slowed down version of "See You on the Dark Side of the Moon" in the background from Pink Floyd, who was supposed to do the original music for the original Dune.
It was the Jodorowsky Dune.
Yep.
That was the one that was supposed to have Salvador Dali in it, 1980 or 1974.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that one was supposed to come, and then that fell like just incredibly horribly mismanaged production, and
the budget was outrageous for it too.
Oh yeah. And then they did the David Lynch Dune, and then it was the Sci-Fi Channel Dune, and now it's Villanova Dune.
He'll be fine with it. I have no doubt that he'll be fine after seeing Blade Runner 2049.
Oh yeah,
because he's got a really good sense of worlds and how to work with worlds. And I mean, because 2049, I'm like, I went in that movie not wanting to like it. I'm like, this is because Blade Runner is sacred to me. It's one of my favorite movies.
Oh, same.
So I'm like, this is a movie that nobody really cared if they made a sequel to. It's 30 years later, however long later after Blade Runner came out. And of course, it flopped because they waited so long to come out with it. But what I would want, that would end up being such a great movie.
I was gonna say, but that was the thing. The Blade Runner originally flopped when it came out. It wasn't until years later that it became a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that that's kind of what 2049 will be.
It already is.
Yeah.
I haven't ran into a Blade Runner fan yet that hasn't liked Blade Runner 2049.
But it's funny you mentioned the booklet with all the terms and everything, because I just finished watching The Nevers, which you recommended. Mm-hmm. And so we're going to go into some brief spoilers about The Nevers. So if you have not watched it, this is officially a spoiler alert.
Let me ask you one question before you start.
Okay.
Had I not given you the warning about the final episode, what would you have thought?
I kind of expected something, because in the second or third episode, when you see the like steampunk chrysalis ship come through, it's like, oh, okay, something else is going on.
Yeah.
So seeing that kind of...
Because the last episode, me and the wife were like, what? Are we watching a different show? What's going on here?
The last episode of the show, Flash, it like cold opens into basically a sci-fi war novel. And
explain the rest of it first. Then it'll make more sense what you're about to say.
Well, so we've talked about the show before. It's very kind of like Victorian. It's not. I wouldn't even say it's Victorian. Maybe early colonial.
Either way, it's definitely steampunk.
Yeah, it's like a steampunk X-Men. There are people who are the Touched. They all have powers, which they call a turn, which is stolen directly from the Wild Card series. And the people who are touched are largely women, minorities, people who are not people of social influence in that era of the British Empire. And so, of course, all the old white guys are like, what the fuck? We can't let these women have power that makes them more powerful than men. We have the penises. We need to have all the power.
So they've all got different powers in different ways. It's kind of like the mutants and the X-Men. You'll have some people that have like really, really useless powers. They'll have like spines on their arms or something.
Right.
Or there's one girl on the show where she can understand English, but when she talks, she says a different word in different languages. So every word she says is in a different, and nobody can really understand her. They can only get bits and pieces of what she says. But I think she can also understand everything too, though.
Right.
So there's one girl who's really, really tall, and she's still a child, but she's really tall. There's one girl that can generate flames. One person that's kind of transgenderish that can make these discs appear out of nowhere and run on them and throw them and do cool stuff. It's a really good show, and I loved it. Actually, I loved it a lot. It wasn't not at all what I expected, because I had no idea what we were going into when we sat down to watch it.
So in the second or third episode, they do a flashback to, at the very end of the episode, the scene where everybody becomes touched, and there's this very chrysalis kind of steampunk spaceship that
looks like a blimp, kind of.
Yeah, it is coming through the sky, and like little pieces of crystal or light come off of it. And when they touch people, those people become the touched.
Yeah, they pass out, and then they wake up. They've got, they develop powers.
And then the ship crashes. So throughout the show, both the touched and the normal people, like the old white dudes, are trying to find out what the source of the power is. And that leads us to the very last episode that cold opens to this sci-fi war-torn future. And there's these two groups of people, and they're fighting, and through the course of the episode, you find out that there's these aliens that came and tried to make Earth better, because we had fucked it up like most post-apocalyptic futures. But what the whole start of this thing or what got me thinking about this from you talking about Dune is, so when they're in the sci-fi future and they're going off all these terms, and like there's the Planetary Defense Coalition and the Free Life Army. And, like, nobody uses the real names. Everybody uses code names. And I love that. Like, when you go into a sci-fi world and you're figuring out what all these words mean. And then it kind of makes you more invested in it. And, like, why don't they use names? And why is it such a taboo to give up their names? And then from there, you find out that the project the alien was helping the scientists work on was a wormhole to the past, so they could go back to the past and prevent the future from ever happening.
Mm-hmm.
That's where the season, or the first half of the season ends. So, yeah, I'm like super interested in it.
I figured you would be.
Mm-hmm.
Like I didn't, because I didn't even realize till about 3/4 of the way to the show it was a Joss Whedon show.
Yeah, but now I'm like super invested in that future, and I'm like, shit, I want to know more about the future.
Yeah, Claudia Black when she was in it, and then it clicked because the way that the main character talks and acts, when you see Claudia Black, she's imitating Claudia Black,
right? Because
that's the character that she is. And I was like, because she kept talking to the show, she's like, I'm just a shit soldier. I'm not anybody important. And you're like, what is she? Okay, so she had because you don't know at the beginning, up until the last episode, you don't know that this all takes place in the past and she's from the future.
Right.
So that last episode was jarring in so many ways. You're like, oh, because the whole series, you're like, what the hell is going on here? And then I don't want to ruin a lot of it. I mean, there's like the doctor, the real creepy doctor, and
yeah.
It's a really good show. It really was. I was very like, this is cool. And part of me is wondering, like, I wonder if this is Joss Whedon, like, giving the middle finger to Disney. Like, look what I can do. Because the X-Men storyline, that's why I'm not really interested in the X-Men that are coming from Marvel. Again, it's like I said earlier, they're going to release it, we're going to go watch it. But the X-Men storyline, it's been played out so much. You saw it played out on Heroes. People had powers they were persecuted against. It's this
my God. Heroes started out so strong.
It did.
And then just like...
it went limp.
Fucking crashed back into the earth.
And they tried to bring it back, and it just didn't work. But anyhow, we've seen this whole persecuted mutants storyline so many times at this point that I'm kind of bored by it.
Right.
So when this came along, about 1/4 of the way through it, I'm like, this is the X-Men in Victorian times. It's an interesting twist. Here you have people, a lot of them are women, like you said. Not all. There were men that had powers, but most of them were women. But again, these are people that have powers that are being persecuted against because they're different. So that underlying whole X-Men storyline still was there. But because it took place in the time period that it did and how they did everything, it was just really cool. I'm like, here's an interesting take on that trope.
Right.
And that was like, this is original. I like this. So, I thought it was a really surprisingly good show. I went into it cold. We had no idea what we were going to watch. It was like, let's just sit down and watch this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like, whoa, this is really cool. Why isn't this more popular?
Yeah. So now that I've finished that, I still have to go back and finish. I have to start his Dark Materia, because that was one of the whole reasons I got frickin' HBO Max, was so I could watch that show.
No interest in it at all. I've just never been interested in it.
I'm not a huge fan of the books, but the show looks good, and yeah. Mm-hmm.
Something that I did watch recently, and it ties more, and I'll be quick about this, but it ties more to my podcast. It's this show called Katla, and it's an Icelandic show that they've overdubbed in English. There's a show on there called Dark. Have you watched Dark yet?
No.
Okay, Dark. It's along those lines. It's very cool, but it's also very European. So the way the story is told is a little bit different. But it's about this town that's in Iceland at the edge of a volcano. It's in modern times, and it's this town that there's a volcano erupting, and there's also a glacier there. And the town's been evacuated, but the people that are living there now just refuse to leave because they've grown there forever. So there's ash everywhere and stuff. And these people that have been dead start just reappearing in the town. They start walking out of these ice fissures, and they're covered in like this black soot and stuff. And it's this whole story about where do these people come from? What are these people? And it was a very fiercely interesting show. Once you get over the overdub voices, which is kind of like watching a Fu movie, but once you get over that, it's a really interesting, weird. It's a creepy show, and I would recommend it to you, but I don't know how you are with shows like that.
Well, it's just a question of like
time.
Yeah. Because
it's
now, like we touched upon last episode, conventions are getting back. So I actually have a convention coming up in October, and now have a deadline of shit I've got to paint.
Yeah.
So
I don't think I'm doing any this year.
I did just Facebook just told me John Barrowman's going to be at the Motor City Comic Con.
I saw that.
So it's like, oh man, I saw that.
He's
He's one of my favorite people. So I
you know what? if there were a year to go to the Motor City Comic Con, this would be the one to do it, because I don't think it'll be as crowded as previous years because of everything that's going on.
Yeah.
And if I could go, I would go, but the prices are just getting really high to go. Like, it used to be like, I think it was $25, and now I don't remember what's
Oh, shit, it has been. Yeah, I was going to say, I remember.
Like $40 now or something, or?
Yeah, I mean, I remember when $20 would get you in for the weekend, and if you had, like, the slightest ability to fast talk your way in, you could just get, like, oh, I'm with this person, I'm just going back, and then you're in.
See, pretty soon, though, you'll be able to get press credentials.
What do you mean pretty soon? I'm going to apply for press credentials for this one.
Cool. Well, if you get press credentials, I might scoot in with you on that one.
Well, I hope so. You're my faithful co-host. So we'll see.
Well, somewhat faithful.
So if anybody listening to the show right now is on the Motor City Comic Con, hey, how you doing?
Just email them. You know, they're going to say, what do you cover, blah, blah, blah. And you can be like, here, we cover comic books, we blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
But
we're nerds.
We're nerds, total nerds. We need to take the mobile setup there and set up, because a lot of people do that. There's tables where you can just sit down and actually start recording a show.
Yeah.
And you know, Percy, Tom and Jacob are probably going to want to go. They'll come down.
Yeah.
It'd be neat to sit out with all four of us sitting in a round table together at one time.
Yeah. But what I thought you were going to go into when you, after we were done with the Nevers, was I thought you were going to go into Loki.
Loki.
Oh my God.
Again, spoilers.
Yeah. Well, at this point, like, seriously, the show's been over for a week.
Yeah.
Like, you, if you were going to watch it, you've watched it.
Loki was interesting for me. I didn't dislike it at first, but I didn't like it. It was a slow burn, because we'd already gone through Wanda and we had gone through Falcon and Winter Soldier at that point. So,
but see, now going through Falcon and Winter Soldier, or Falcon and the Winter Soldier and WandaVision, and now Loki, I think Loki is the one that's going to have the most direct impact on the cinematic universe.
Oh, it totally set up the whole cinematic universe, the next one. Here's the funny part. I care more about the things that Loki and Scarlet Witch are setting up than I care about the direction that the movies are, with the exception of Doctor Strange and Spider-Man, because those tie in very heavily to what's happening on the television shows. But it's weird because Marvel's going into well, they did this before too, arguably with the last round of phases, because you had the space thing with the Guardians of the Galaxy, and then you had all of these movies. So I'm wondering how these are all going to tie in at the end of this, because they're going in a lot of different directions here.
Right. So
I'm wondering where they're going to go. But all of the stuff that Loki set up, it's very blatant what's going to happen. And they just announced that the What If cartoon shows that are coming up, those are now going to be canon because of the Loki show. Those What Ifs are actually alternate realities now. So it's not like, well, what if this happened, where, that they were just like, this is what could have happened. Now this is what did happen in one of those alternate timelines that branched out, which is an interesting twist. So if that's the case, we could have Peggy Carter showing up somewhere again as Captain whatever, Britain, or whatever the hell she's going to be. You could have Killmonger showing back up as Iron Man. You could have, because these are going to be established alternate realities.
Right.
And now with this gives Marvel a massive sandbox to pull and choose and do whatever they want to. And this show did such a good job of setting all of that up. So we're going to see what's going to happen now. And the question is Kang going to be the new Thanos, the main bad guy?
Yeah, that's what a lot of people seem to be hinting at. And especially the fact that because of the multiverse of Kangs, it's not just going to be one Kang, it's all the Kangs.
Yeah.
But man, I love how deep some of the cuts in Loki were. Like Thorg showing up.
There was actually supposed to be, they revealed it this week, there was supposed to be a scene between Thor and Loki of Thor getting turned into that frog. Because that was actually from, I can't remember what issue it was, but there was a small series.
There was a whole storyline where Loki turned Thor into a frog.
Yeah, and it was all about his adventures in the sewer. Yeah. And I saw it, like, the first time we saw it, it was like, me and my wife watched it, we're like, was that Thor inside of a jar? So we went back after the show was over and rewound it, and I'm like, oh my god, that's Thorg! And my wife's like, what? And I'm like, again, a total geek moment where I have to explain stuff to the wife. My
other absolute favorite was the Thanos helicopter.
Yeah, very few people got that.
You had to be a hardcore to remember, about the one time Thanos showing up in a helicopter.
Which even the comic book, I'm like, this is stupid, but okay, whatever.
Yeah, it's like the fact that the warship that shows up is the U.S. Eldritch.
Yeah, from the Philadelphia Experiment. I'm watching that going, I know what that is.
I understood that reference.
That's my show.
Yep.
Did you see the giant wasp helmet in the background?
Yep.
Yellow Jacket helmet. I'm sorry, Yellow Jacket.
Yeah, the giant Yellow Jacket helmet. There were a couple of the Palobolus machine. Mm-hmm. The only reason I know that,
Polybius?
Yeah, the only reason I know that is from the episode of Project Archivich where you guys talked about Palobolus.
It's Polybius.
Polybius.
I know, it's a weird name, Polybius.
Yeah.
I know ridiculously too much about that urban legend. We haven't really even covered it on my show as much.
That and the mysterious pop machine in Portland, which has since been removed.
Really?
It was removed in 2019. There was just a message on its Facebook that it was going on vacation, and they showed some like photoshopped pictures of it around the world, but that's the last. Nothing's been heard of it since.
So there's a lot of things that they can do with this now that they have Sophie established. Now that
Sylvie.
I don't know why I said Sophie. Sylvie.
She's not a golden girl.
Correct.
She's Sylvie.
But since she is a Thor variant in the...
No, she's a Loki variant.
Why the fuck am I I'm having a stroke right now. I apologize.
It's the terrible beer. It's affected your brain.
It is. It's this is so bad. I'm gonna lay it on that. Anyhow, in the Thor comic book where Jane becomes Thor, Thor loses the hammer. He becomes not worthy anymore. So she becomes the new Thor. A lot of people were really down on that comic book. I thought it was okay. Well, everybody was pissed about the end of it because at the end...
and Sylvie was the name of the Enchantress.
Yes. And so they incorporated two characters into one.
And the Enchantress was created by Loki.
Yes.
So it makes sense that she's now going to be her own character and probably end up being the Enchantress.
But female Thor was in that run of comic books where Jane became Thor for a little while. Mm-hmm. And Loki kept popping up. Now, I don't know if they're going to do it the same way, but I'm sure she's going to be in Love and Thunder. Because in Love and Thunder, she becomes Thor. I'm sure she's going to show up in that movie playing the part that Loki played in the other comic book. But the thing is she's not as malicious and mean or anything like that as Loki was in the comic book. Like in the comic book, Loki was always trying to tempt her because she was dying from cancer. And the only time that she wasn't dying from cancer was when she had the hammer and she was in her Thor form.
Right.
So as soon as she switched out of Thor form back into human form, she was sick and dying of cancer and all this stuff. And Loki kept coming along and trying to tempt her, hey, put the hammer down, I will heal you, I will take away this cancer. And at the very end of the comic book, Odin comes along and says, you're worthy, we will spare your life, and lets her live. And I think Thor gets the hammer back or something like that. But Odin's like, yeah, you're forgiven, you are allowed to live. And a lot of people were like, well, that was very formulaic. I didn't really give a shit. I mean, it was like, yeah, because nobody in Marvel really dies.
Yeah, nobody.
Because now that the timelines are branched, they could actually bring Scarlett Johansson back. Okay, well, she didn't die in that timeline, so hey, she's back. Black Widow's back now.
Yeah.
So I guess we could talk about Black Widow now since I brought it up.
But, so Black Widow finally, after just like Dune, after 5 canceled release dates, it finally made it to the big screen. Mm-hmm. I saw it opening weekend with my kids.
I saw it with the wife the day after it opened, I believe.
I think it was an okay Marvel movie.
I agree. It wasn't bad, but it wasn't super. It didn't kick my ass, but I enjoyed it. I did enjoy it.
It was very back to the original Marvel formula.
It needed to be where it needed to be. It shouldn't have been released now.
So here's the thing. Here's my key complaint is the fact that this would have been much better if it came out either directly after Civil War or right after The Winter Soldier.
Yeah, well, it was supposed to be after Civil War.
Yeah, they sat on this. They sat on making this way too long.
Yeah.
And apparently there were originally supposed to be more crossover from other characters. Mm-hmm. And they ended up cutting that out because they wanted to make it more focused on Black Widow instead of just another ensemble, which is stupid. If you wanted to make it a focus on Black Widow, why didn't you make it that way? You added that stuff in, and then it was like, well, DC made a female-centric movie, so I guess we should too, and Captain Marvel wasn't that great.
You know what? I think that probably was one of it. They wanted Captain Marvel to be bigger than it was, and if they'd have released Black Widow, it would have probably messed that movie up and it would have taken the emphasis off of the first female character that they were releasing.
Which is incredibly the way it should have happened. Scarlett Johansson was part of the Marvel Cinematic Universe since almost the beginning.
Yeah.
Her character absolutely deserved to be the first female-led movie, and Marvel just dropped the ball.
The other thing is, I wonder if it was a matter of Marvel had so much on their plate in a certain timeline that they had to get these out, that there just wasn't room in the timeline for that movie to fit when it was. And it's sad, because if that movie had been released when it was supposed to, it would have had a lot more of an impact. But when you're watching this, you know she's going to die. You know that. I mean, it was still cool to watch and still see her get her story. The one thing that I'm really bummed out about is that, they were in Budapest, and there's little references. She's like, oh yeah, those are arrow holes, not bullet holes. And it's like, I really wanted to find out the story behind Budapest. I really wanted Hawkeye to be there. I wanted to see the forming of that friendship, and that was sadly lacking. And the other thing is Black Widow never got a funeral. Tony Stark got a funeral, but Black Widow never did. Natasha never had one. So I was at least hoping that at some point in this movie we would get that funeral honoring her death and the sacrifice she made. All we got was that stupid little thing at the end next to the tombstone, which really wasn't a funeral.
Right.
And it was kind of like, man.
Which, interestingly, is the first time a movie is going to lead into a TV show. Because that is going to directly tie to
the Hawkeye show. I mean, again, I'm more. Plus, they left a lot of holes. Not to cut you off, but they left a lot of stuff open at the end of Black Widow. Where are the rest of the Black Widows? What happens to Taskmaster? What happens to the Red Shield or whatever the hell his name was? I can't remember right now.
The Red Guardian.
Red Guardian. Yeah, he was great. He stole the movie.
Fucking A! I want him to have his own movie.
Yeah,
I literally want him to have his own movie.
I think he's going to be back. And the other thing that happened that nobody really noticed was when they were in the prison and they're arm wrestling, the guy walks up and arm wrestles him was named Ursa. Now, Ursa was a mutant in the comic books. He was part of the
Omega Red.
Yes, exactly. So technically, because he goes, look at this big bear. He refers to him as a bear, and that was Ursa's power. He would turn into a big giant bear, bigger than the Hulk. So it's like, wait a minute. So it's like, is this the first actual mutant to appear in the new Marvel movies? And Disney's kind of confirmed it. They haven't, they said, yes, that was Ursa, blah, blah, blah. So it's like, all right, well, if he's a mutant, then technically he is the first mutant to appear in a Marvel movie. But I would love to see, I want to see those two together. I want to see more of him. He was definitely a show stealer. He absolutely stole them. There was some really good moments in the movie.
I was going to say, there was a lot of lightheartedness in this.
Yeah.
And then was kind of
we should have enough gas in the helicopter to make it. It crashes.
I mean, I would have liked it to be a little more suspenseful, like The Winter Soldier.
Yeah.
But at the same time, it had a lot of heart, and I liked that.
If it had been released where it should have been released on a timeline, it would have been better.
The whole thing about Black Widow always posing.
Yeah.
I lost my shit at that.
She lands and does it too, and she's like, yeah.
And the pockets, the vest with pockets. It was just so.
And as soon as I saw the vest, I'm like, that was the vest that she was wearing in the last time that they showed Black Widow. She was wearing that vest in the movie.
Yeah.
That's where the vest came. So they did a good job of explaining where the ship came from that they were flying, where she got her vest from, and they did tie up a lot of loose ends. But it's just like, I get it. I'm happy for it. I'm glad I saw it. I'm not going to bitch about it. It was still. It was still better than some of the real flop Marvel movies. The other problem I think it is we've just become so used to getting really good quality product, and when we get something that's not as good, we're like, because if this movie had been released back then, we'd have been like, wow, this is a really good movie.
And I mean, I'm not shitting on it.
I'm not trying to.
I was genuinely entertained. I mean,
it just felt weird.
Okay, if you're ranking the Marvel movies as the absolute best and the absolute worst, I mean, this is kind of solid in the middle.
Yeah.
Or as Adam Savage says, bookended by Thors.
Yeah.
Because the best Marvel movie is undoubtedly Thor Ragnarok, and the worst is Thor: The Dark World.
I don't know, man. Iron Man 3 is pretty bad.
No. Thor: The Dark World is worse than Iron Man. Like, Iron Man 3 is bad. Definitely, bottom 5 bad. But no,
I don't know, man.
The Dark
I still
World.
Think Iron Man 3 was... Because they kind of tried to retcon Iron Man 3 out of happening and out of existence. They've only mentioned references to it a couple of times because it was just bad.
Well, I mean, yeah. Now they're gonna have the whole we're finally gonna see the Mandarin. We're finally gonna see the real Mandarin.
Yeah, that was dumb. That was another dumb. I think why I think they're doing it is because so many people were so pissed off that Marvel ruined such a great villain by doing that. So many people were like, "Fuck you, Marvel."
I'm sorry, Ben Kingsley was the best part of Iron Man 3.
And then I
absolutely wanted him to be the real Mandarin.
That was part of what made that movie suck. It was like, wait a minute, the Mandarin's not okay. It's this guy. What the fuck is this? What is this?
So one thing I did notice.
Let's throw a whole bunch of Iron Man suits in. That'll make everybody happy. Look at all the Iron Man suits. It's like look at all the Jedi in the Jedi movie. It's like, oh God. Sorry, go ahead.
No. So
I'll turn into a rant if I'm not careful.
So in the trailer for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, you in the most recent trailer, you get to see what the Ten Rings are. And I do like that they changed them. They're not rings on your finger.
They're on your arm.
They're on your arm.
That was cool.
And it reminds me of some of the old the old kung fu movies where you'd have the guy who his weapon was, he would have the sets of rings on his arms, and he could block swords with them, and they armored his arms, and then he could hit things with them, and seeing that as the representation of the Ten Rings, I thought that was really
That's cool. But did you catch, there's an Easter egg in there, and if you blinked, you would have missed it. In the ring, they show a real quick scene of a fighting ring. One of the things in that fighting ring was the Abomination. And the Abomination is throwing Wong into the fence.
Yeah, I saw that. And
I'm like, okay, cool. They're bringing the Abomination back from the Hulk movie from way back. And why the fuck is Wong fighting in a fighting championship what's going on here? I'm curious about that.
Because Wong.
Probably listening to Adele. So that was neat. So I am curious about, my wife is not as curious about seeing it, but we're going to go see it. But again, we come back to the Eternals, where we're kind of like, all right, I guess we'll go see it because it's a Marvel movie, but... Yeah. But she is less interested, whereas I'm a little bit more interested in Shang-Chi now.
Yeah, I'm definitely, the more I've seen of it, the more I'm interested in it. I like that it's kind of going to be like a Chinese gangster movie, instead of a old, traditional kung fu movie.
What I'm also wondering... Are we going to see any... Is Iron Fist going to be referenced any in this?
I don't know, but all I want in life is Jackie Chan to make a cameo.
That wasn't where I was going, but hey, I wouldn't complain about it.
Fuck, we've got all these super heavy hitters now who are in the Marvel universe. Fucking Robert Redford's in the Marvel universe. Michelle Pfeiffer's in the Marvel universe. Fucking A, we need Jackie Chan in the Marvel universe.
This would be a good movie to do it in if they're going to throw him in this, because it's kind of riding off the back of what he's done.
Oh my God, yes. Have Jackie Chan be in Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings, then have Owen Wilson make a cameo as Mobius, and it's the nod to Shanghai.
Now that you've mentioned something, I need to call myself out on a prediction that I made that I was bummed it did not happen. I was 100% sure that we were going to see Owen Wilson by the end riding on a jet ski, because they made such a big deal about that jet ski thing, and then at the end of it, I'm like, "Where's the jet ski? And there's no jet ski," and I'm like, well, that kind of sucks.
I didn't so much want him at the end. I figured maybe when they were in the void world, he'd come out riding on a jet ski or something.
I will also say that you made reference before. I can't remember what your exact statement was, but it was something about Loki makes people better by...
Yeah, Mobius says it. He's like, your job is to be the foil. People become better by foiling you.
So, in essence, he actually foiled himself becoming better. Mm-hmm. And the whole time I'm watching, I'm like, son of a bitch, John was right.
And I have seen predictions, and I actually kind of think this might be the case, that Owen Wilson might fill the spot of Coulson in the first Marvel phases.
I can see that, because he, in this show, was very much Loki's consciousness driving him to be a better person. Because Loki, for the first time, actually had a love interest. He gave up being the kind of wanting to be the ruler and everything in favor of her. And at the same time, he actually developed a friendship with Mobius. And he's like, yeah, I'm your friend. And Loki really has never had any friends. Like, he actually has friends. He has a purpose. He sees all these other variations of himself. I still want to know about Gator Loki. I still want to know more about
Crocky, Croaky, or whatever. But where it's.
I want to know more. I really want to see a what if episode. I want to see. I just want to see more of Croc Loki.
I'm actually sad we lost classic Loki. Like I wanted more classic Loki.
You know what though? He went out the best possible way that he possibly could for that character. Glorious purpose!
I forget the actor's name who played him, but then realizing, like, oh shit, this is the guy who played the bad guy in the Hudson Hawk.
Mm-hmm. What an obscure reference that is. Wow, you're digging deep in nerddom there, man.
Oh, fuck you, I love Hudson Hawk. It is like honestly, swear to God, my fourth favorite Bruce Willis film.
It's not a bad movie. It's not.
It's
not a bad movie, but it's one of those things that's kind of like
Die Hard 1, Die Hard with a Vengeance. As much as I hate to admit it, Unbreakable, and then his fucking Hudson Hawk.
That's a solid list. I can't argue with that.
Yeah.
Which, for whatever reason, brings me to this point. Did you see what I posted this week on my Facebook page about the whole Jeff Bezos launching his spaceship, which looks like a big flying dildo? And then,
well, I haven't seen specifically your thing. I have seen everything the entire fucking internet has posted about Jeff Bezos launching his giant penis rocket.
So somebody took the picture of the rocket, and then they took the scene from Austin Powers where they go, oh my God, it looks like a giant. Then it cuts to another scene, and a woman goes, Dick, did you see what's flying up in the sky there? And the guy goes, yeah, that looks like a giant. And somebody's like, Wiener, here's your hot dog,
No.
And it fits perfectly with it.
Well, I mean, like, ever since I saw his I forget what his Blue Odyssey or whatever. I'm like, it's a giant penis. Like, are we all just not gonna call out the fact that he built a giant penis spaceship?
I think you posted one of the funnier ones I saw. Looking like the water tower.
They photoshopped the Ypsilanti water tower over
the rocket,
the Blue Origin,
which looks like it. Because for listeners not from the area around here, Ypsilanti, Michigan.
So just Google the most phallic building in the United States, and you will literally find a picture of this Ypsilanti water tower.
The uncircumcised Ypsilanti water tower.
Which looks like a giant fucking penis.
Yeah, it does. It always has.
And it wasn't just the fact that somebody photoshopped that, it was that they photoshopped that into one of those 3D panoramics so you could move your mouse around, and it moved it around, and it's perfect.
Yeah, it was genius. It really was.
Like,
it was genius.
If you are the person on the internet who made that, my hat is off to you. You officially won the internet this week.
I'll give Bezos credit, though, or Bezos, whatever the fuck his name is. He put the oldest woman in space and the youngest person in space. And the woman that went up was one of the original people that was campaigning to get women in space. She never herself went in space until now. And she's 83 years old, and she was like, yes, women belong in space. They're just as good as men.
Was he doing like some kind of space summoning? Like, I need a young astronaut and an old astronaut?
No, I just think it's cool. I mean, okay, again, sending people into space is a trope. So it's like, what can we do? I'm launching a rocket ship. Yeah, it's already been done. All right, well, find me an old woman and a young man, and let's do this,
It's fucking around the world in 80 days. It's a bunch of rich white dudes had to figure out some new hobby to invent to spend their money. Some new milestone that was so audacious that they could create it. So it's like, fuck it. Space. First one to space wins. What do we win? Like $1?
I don't care, as long because we're sadly lacking in space travel. We really are. I mean, we haven't been to the moon in a long time. Why do you want to go back to the moon? Because it's there. Let's go. You know, it's the whole space program is falling apart.
The terrestrial reserves of helium are almost exhausted, and we're going to need helium to keep making birthday balloons. So there are rich helium deposits on the fucking moon, so that's why we're going there.
Well, H3 is on the moon.
Yeah.
And H3 on the surface of the moon, you can power a lot of shit with H3. Yeah. And there's not very much of it on Earth, but the moon is loaded with it. And like you can run a city on a little bit of H3 for a long time.
Well, and I mean, when it gets right down to it, it's the reason to go to space is there are a fuck ton of resources in space. Like the reason asteroid mining in science fiction is such a huge thing is because the minerals that exist on Earth in very small quantities that are incredibly hard to find, there are just giant fucking rocks of them circulating around the system.
Yeah. So, okay, let's say, obviously it's not going to happen in our lifetime, but a few generations from now, it's like if you were offered a vacation chance to go up into space or to go to the moon or what have you, would you do it?
Maybe.
I think I would.
So, like if we're talking like cyberpunk, where it's like you're going up to the orbitals and you're just on the stations, maybe.
I'd go to the moon if I could.
There was an article talking about like the idea that these rich people are just going to space because like they're trying to escape the planet. And there was somebody who worked for NASA, and they're like, yeah, no, that is not a thing, because the only reason anyone goes up into space is because there are thousands of people on the ground whose sole purpose in their working hours is just to make sure that those people don't die.
Mm-hmm.
Like they are the amount of support staff it takes to keep the 10 people on the ISS alive every day, because space is actively trying to kill you in every possible way.
Yeah, it's a harsh environment for sure. I get that. But if there was a hotel or some kind of a space station hotel up there,
I'd totally go up.
Or I would. If there was one around the moon or something like that, I would totally go if I could.
If there was a crappy theme park on the moon, I would go visit.
There will be. There absolutely will be some kind of a crappy theme park, and there will be a Starbucks, and there will be a McDonald's.
Yeah, well, I'm gonna go build my own theme park with blackjack and hookers.
And then at some point or another, Subway's gonna have to pop in there as well. There will be. There just will be. What's going to suck, and they're already working on this, is when you look up in the sky, because I'm a big moon gazer. I love clear nights and sitting outside by the fire and looking at the moon. It's a big part of me. And I dread the day when I look up and they're floating from space is a billboard for some fucking company. I'm going to be like...
The moon is a big part of you. So what you just said is that you have a giant ass.
I wasn't going there, but I'll take that. Yeah, I'll take that. No, I'm a very, you've seen my tattoos and stuff. You know what I am, and it's just like, it's a big thing for me, and it's going to piss me off the day, and I'm sure I'm going to see it before I die, where you look up in the sky at night on a clear night, and there's an ad for Geico Insurance from a fucking satellite beaming down on Earth, and it's like, oh, God.
Nah,
why'd you ruin it?
When the blimps come going, come see the off-world colonies.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Fucking, they invented the space race just to have an excuse of something to spend their billions of dollars on.
I don't care. I really don't.
I mean, I kind of don't either, but it does kind of, like, it totally makes me think of this in the framework of Around the World in 80 days. Like the idea of Phileas Fogg making the gentleman's bet that he can make it around the world in 80 days is the same as like Branson, Bezos, and Musk all going, I think I could fucking go to space. And I mean, it's not like, and it's not even like they spent most of their own money, as tons of their projects were subsidized by the U.S. government.
Even still, yeah. I don't care. It's as long as we're getting back up into space again and we're starting to do exploration and starting to do things again, because we got to get off this planet one way or another. And they're advancing, because space technology has not advanced in years.
No, it really hasn't
at all. So up until these guys coming along and doing this and saying, let's find a better way, let's do it so we can do it over and over and over again.
Right.
That's great, cool. Let's run with this. because ultimately they are making the process to do it much cheaper, more compact, more repeatable, and it's only going to grow from there. Now, I certainly don't ever expect to go up into space, but, it's just the idea that we're going there.
I was going to say, I think it will be something in maybe my children's lifetime, maybe my children's children's lifetime.
Yeah, I would say within 3 generations, it will become... But by that point, it will be blasé. It'll be like the first space race. After a while, we didn't care about going to the moon anymore. People just lost interest in it. It's like, all right, we got it. What's next, Well, and then the shuttle came along and it kind of renewed it.
I was going to say, like, we went from Apollo 11, like, landing on the moon, to, like, oh my God, like, the whole damn world saw this, to Apollo 13, 2 launches later, and, like, the viewership of the launch was so low they didn't even air like the segments of them recording on the in the capsule and all that.
I want to see us go to Mars. I mean, I do. We could live on Mars, but it'll be hard. But we can be done, and they're already figuring out the ways to do it and stuff. So yeah, let's do it.
It makes me want to go back and watch The Martian.
Yeah. That was a good book.
It was
a good book. Good movie, too. Decent movie. Not a bad movie.
There's a part in the book where he's figuring out like some mathematic equation, and he has to come up with a unit of measure for like the degradation of power over time doing X number of things. So he's like, holy crap, I got to invent a new term. So the unit of measure he creates are like ninja pirate zombies or like ninja pirate robots.
Yeah.
And it just, that was such a good thing.
The cool thing about that guy, I think he self-published or something like that.
Andy Weir, he self-published that. You can still download the book for free on the internet.
And it's really cool to see somebody that did that become famous. Did you read his follow-up book about the heist on Mars? Good book.
I heard that was really good.
It's not as well known as The Martian, but it's a book that you will like.
And I want to get the audiobook of it because it's read by Rosario Dawson.
Yes, that's how I heard it.
Yeah.
It's good. It is. It was really good.
Oh, speaking of Rosario Dawson, I forgot the other thing we could talk about. Clerks 3 officially began filming.
Again. I know. Yes, it's officially beginning to be filmed now, and I'm happy for it, but we've been down this road so many times. It's kind of like, we're doing Clerks. No, we're not. We're doing Clerks. No, we're not.
Well, it's... Okay, so...
I know. Somebody greenlit it. They're financing it. They've begun filming it. Awesome.
Yeah, I was going to say, once it gets to filming, that's usually... Like, I don't get excited about projects until they begin filming. Mm-hmm. Because once something begins filming, it is astronomically more likely that it will actually get out to film. Like, it is very rare nowadays that once shooting happens on a show, that it's just completely killed.
Did you watch the last Jay and Silent Bob movie?
I did. In fact, I watched it at the State Theater at a showing
that's right.
with Kevin Smith.
Yeah. It was okay.
Yeah.
I think maybe it's just I'm a little Kevin Smith out now. He doesn't hold the same. His movies don't hold the same luster as they used to.
Well, and that's something they talk about in that movie is the idea that like nobody wants to see 2 middle-aged dudes being stoners and having wacky antics. They are literally too old for it. It makes me sad because we're gonna have to wait till next year for the Multiverse of Madness.
Not necessarily, because it's going to start in Spider-Man. That's where it starts.
But I mean, even that's not coming out till 2022.
Oh, it's still that far away? Oh, okay. I thought it was sooner than that.
Let me double check. But yeah, I believe it's 2022.
Yeah, you're probably right. Yeah, so it's still a year away.
Spider-Man
3.
No Way Home. Oh, no,
Yeah.
Let's see.
Yeah, I don't think it's coming this year. Because that's like the only movie that anybody really cares about is that and Doctor Strange. All these other movies are like, yeah, we're going to go see them, but that's not what we want.
I was talking with somebody at work and like mentioned Black Widow, and she's like, wait, there's a Marvel movie? I'm like, yeah, it came out. And she's like, holy shit, you mean, like, because she was looking at movie theaters, and she was like, whoa, Venom 2's out?
Not yet.
Okay, so according to the Marvel Studios website, Spider-Man No Way Home will premiere on December 17th, 2021.
Okay.
Which means we're going to have 4 Marvel movies this year. Because next, I think, let's see. Shang-Chi comes out September 3rd. The Eternals is November 5th. Wow, dude. So that means September's Shang-Chi, November's The Eternals, December is frickin' Dune, and December is going to be Spider-Man.
I'm okay with that.
Yeah. Doctor Strange and the Multiverse of Madness is March 25th, 2020.
Okay. All right. Yeah, I'm good looking forward to those two. When's Shang-Chi and all that? When do those movies fit into all of this? I think Shang-Chi's the next one, isn't it?
I just laid it out for you.
I was actually reading my phone. You can edit all of this out.
No. We're going to discuss the fact that I just got finished telling you when they all came out, and you're like, yeah, so when do they come out? Yeah. So, recap, Shang-Chi comes out in December.
It's the shitty... I heard Shang-Chi, but for whatever reason, I superimposed Spider-Man onto that. Yeah. I did hear you say Spider-Man December 21st.
Shang-Chi comes out September 5th.
Okay.
The Eternals comes out November.
You know why? I understand now. I completely understand. I care so little about those movies that I just didn't pay attention to it.
Your brain literally shut off when you heard them.
I'm going to go see those movies, and I'm just going to sit there and not take any of those movies in. That's exactly what it was. I blame the shitty Lake Time tea, coupled with the fact that I really don't care about those other two movies. Can we end the show? I love you, man. I love our listeners. I'm so out of it right now.
You are. All right, folks. Well, this is a good place to wrap it up. Once again, you can reach us at oldnerdsdrinking@gmail.com. You can come find the Old Nerds Drinking Facebook group on Facebook.
Which just gets better all the time.
Come for the podcast, stay for the memes.
I'm a little disappointed because the Old Nerds Drinking Facebook page is better than the Project Archivist Facebook page, and the Project Archivist podcast has been around for 13 years now. And like my page is the Old Nerds Drinking page is far more active and far funnier than the Project. Well, they're different shows. So yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
But I'm John Patrick, the Master Control Program.
I am Rojan. You can find my other show at projectarchivist.com, which is nothing like this. It's the home of the wonderful, the weird, and the strange. Do go check it out.
End of line.
Over? Did you say over? Nothing is over until we decide it is. Was it over when the Germans bombed Pearl Harbor? Hell no!
Sherman? Forget it, he's rolling.
And it ain't over now.
So, what's the plan? Take car, go to Mum's, kill Phil, grab Liz, go to the Winchester, have a nice cold pint, and wait for all this to blow over.
Might as well write him off.
Let's close up the bridge. Let's get out of here. Close it up. Lights out.
Where are you headed, cowboy?
Nowhere special.
Nowhere special. I always wanted to go there.
We're going streaking! Yeah!
All right, move on. Nothing to see here. Please disperse. Nothing to see here, please.